worry. This isn't going to be one of those videos talking about how I'm selling my collection and I'm over luxury fashion, blah, 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 okay? No shade or disrespect to anybody that has made that decision. It's a very personal decision, obviously, and everybody should do what is right for them and how they feel, and things change and interests change. But I'm a little bit too entrenched and committed to my love of luxury fashion for that to be the case. So that is not what this is about. This is mainly about how I've noticed my strategy and mindset around luxury shopping change in the past sort of month/year or so. And I just wanted to share, and maybe it is, and I'm sure actually that it is, a amalgamation of getting older, and just like the way that I think about things has slightly changed, changes in the luxury fashion industry as well, and luxury shopping in general. So I thought that I would just sit down and have a little chat and share all of those things with you. Guys, if you are new here, my name is Cassie and I'm a self-diagnosed luxury addict. I put out videos on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, so if you like luxury fashion, then you're probably gonna love it here. So head down there, subscribe, turn on the bell, become a member of our luxury addicted family. When are we going to rehab? Never. Even though I'm doing this video, like, it's still, don't need to be concerned about that. Oh, by the way, I also have a Substack. It will be linked below in case you haven't had enough of me. Anyway, generally, I think on average, I am buying less than I have done since like this has been my full-time job probably. And that is mainly just because I think that I've become slightly more discerning. There are reasons for this in what I'm buying, and I think about things more. I've never been an impulse shopper. Every so often, but I've never been an impulse shopper for like big purchases. Like if there is a bag, I am thinking about that bag. I have decided whether or not that bag fits what I currently have and all of that business, right? But I am definitely sleeping on things more, really thinking about how something fits into what I currently have. And part of that is also prioritizing brands that I love or gravitate towards instead of just buying this cool thing from this brand that I don't really feel anything for. And fair enough, that will still happen, but definitely not to the same extent that I think I have done in the past. And not to worry, there will still be hauls and things and unboxings, right? But I'm definitely much more considered. Ever since I sort of saw this quote, I'm not entirely sure who said it, but I have a feeling it was Camille Charrier, who was basically like, I now look at my wardrobe like an archive and I make my decisions based on that. And that kind of switched something in that I was thinking, okay, and this is sort of how I buy a lot of things recently, which is, if Vogue was doing a sort of in the closet series, right, in how many years time, whatever it is, if I am deemed worthy, then, you know, if I was going through my wardrobe or whatever, I really want to have those pieces that feel very special to me, feel a little bit more, not necessarily like custom or one-off, but a little bit more special than the quote-unquote usual suspects, right? Not that I do not fall victim to things because they are popular. Sometimes because they're popular, that's how they're on my radar, and I'm like, yes, this is very me, and I get it, right? This isn't that. But I think framing things from that perspective of, okay, is this actually something that is a bit different and cool and interesting, and obviously I'll get wear out of it, or is it just another top, you know? And fair enough, we do need the basics, okay? This isn't, you know, you need a white t-shirt, you need a white shirt, but outside of that, am I buying things that add value to my wardrobe? Not in terms of monetarily, right? But in terms of wear, and I don't have anything like that. And oh yes, this fills this gap in my wardrobe. Another thing that I've started doing, and this is definitely Christian's impact on me, is looking at the composition of certain things. Fair enough, sometimes I like the item so much that I do not care. And I'm just like, that's really cool, and I've not seen anything like that, and it could be spun out of sugar for all I care, sort of thing. And yes, because at the end of the day, I'm about visuals, but I do think that for certain items, looking at the composition and the materials used and all of that gives you a good idea of longevity, especially actually for those like basics pieces, right? It gives you an idea of how they're going to wash over time. Are they going to pill? Are they just going to be like, you wear it for a season non-stop and then it's just like nothing by the end of it. I've got, you know, my fair share of Skims underwear and basics and whatever, and one of their mock necks I love. I love that mock neck so much, and I've not really found anything comparable. But I'm not going to lie to you, that's not going to outlive me. It's just not. That's barely going to make it past 18 months. I had to buy a replacement because I was like, this is on its last legs. Okay. So there are those sorts of things that, yes, looking at the label can give you an insight into how long is this relationship gonna be? Is it a fling or is this a marriage? Also, I think that I have become more patient in that I don't need the immediacy of certain items, and that in itself has changed the way that I've shopped. For example, in planning purchases a little bit better, I am doing a few trips in the second half of this year, 2 of which are to Europe. So it's like, okay, if I can hold off on buying certain pieces that maybe will still be around then let me put that off and buy it in Europe where it's going to be cheaper and you can get VAT back and all of that, rather than having it now. And sometimes, definitely, in the past, I would have just been like, but I want it now. And then you buy it now and, you know, you've missed out on the savings that you could have had or whatever. And I feel also that same way about sales. Now, I have like a load of tabs open for things that I've, you know, taken a bit of a shining to, and I'll check up on them every so often. And I will be like, oh, okay, is this possibly, if I think it's got a chance of having a little bit of a seasonal discount going into a sale, then I will risk and just like have it open and not quite buy it until that sort of thing happens. Yes, there are instances where like brands don't go on sale, or I'm not willing to risk this and I love it so much and I will just deal with that. But generally now, I am willing to wait. And also, so many brands and retailers and multi-brand retailers online are having sales and promotions more often, that it also just makes sense to. Like I said, some brands you've got more of a chance at doing that than others. But I am definitely doing it more. Even like making it a thing to go to outlets more, using platforms like Mile, right? I've featured them in hauls previously, but it's basically an invite only. You need a referral code to get in, basically, and it's based on a subscription depending on what sort of level of brands you want, but it's essentially an outlet on an app, right? So you've got that convenience level, and the deals are insane. By the way, I mean, I do have a referral code, all capital letters, Cassie. That'll get you to the front of the line. They let people in once a week, so it's not like an immediate thing, but there we go, it helps. So using things like that more and just being like, do I really need this? Or can I like get it on sale or at an outlet or whatever, you know? So I think it's just being more considered, and I don't need the immediacy of the item now more than I did. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it just happens less. And sometimes as well, if there's certain items, I will definitely like think about it for a while, and then I'll remember it and be like, oh my, like, it's not like you've been thinking about that every day for the last week. You only thought of it because this and this and this happened, and actually you're not into it that much. Great, done. So that's another way of gauging how much I really like something. Obviously, I've also been buying much more vintage and pre-loved than I ever had. I bought my first vintage item from Treasures of NYC. It was the first year that I was here. It was the November of the year I was... Okay, so in 2022, so 3 years ago, I bought my first vintage item. And that really sort of opened the doors to me considering vintage, looking at the pieces that I remember from my youth and thought were really cool, and now I have the opportunity to buy pieces that are no longer in production, pieces that mean something to me because of the designer or whatever. Like, I love Alexander McQueen. I would love to have a really great collection of vintage pieces from him that I've collected throughout my life. Plato's Atlantis, oh my gosh, incredible. I would love a dress from that, right? Unfortunately, everybody seems to know what they've got, and you know, they want $9,000 for it. I'm willing to wait, like I said, patience. But those sorts of things that I had never opened myself up to before, being completely honest, buying vintage it wasn't positioned as necessarily a cool thing while I was sort of growing up. And so I didn't really, you know, it was like, oh, you've got to like go to a specialist place and you've got to pilfer around to find something. And I'm not a huntress. I'm not gonna lie to you. Anything for an easy life. And I think since, you know, have all these amazing resale platforms that like, you can find find anything on has really opened it up to me with authenticity to back it up. And yes, there are things that slip through the cracks and everything, but there are also authenticity companies that can double check things for you and make sure you're comfortable, and policies in place so that you can return if things aren't as they seem. All of that has made me feel much more comfortable buying vintage, and really that's opened up a whole new world in itself for me, and pieces that other people might not necessarily have to the same degree as pieces that are currently available now. Especially if you live in a big city, you can tend to see the same items crop up a little bit, especially when it comes to like bags, such, and also like viral clothes. But you know, like that happens. And then when you buy vintage, obviously there's a much less chance of that happening. So yeah, I feel like that has just opened up another new sort of like area of my brain when it comes to luxury shopping. For example, right, Louis Vuitton Murakami, yes, obviously, I love the first drop and I bought current pieces from it. I bought trainers and a wallet. But when it came to the bags, that sort of clicked that I was like, oh my gosh, there was this one style from 2003 that I loved. And I bought that vintage, right? My lovely Marilyn. She's out of reach, but I'll include a picture. You know, so situations like that come up. The other thing, and I'm ashamed to admit this, right? Shopping my own closet. I was invited to a gala. I'm filming this the day before I'm going, right? And the dress code is cocktail. Now, I knew that I wasn't gonna buy like a whole new dress for it, but I knew that I wanted to wear my Ferragamo column skirt, and in my head, I was like, oh, you know what I want? I want to do like a sheer shirt with it. It can be a white sheer shirt or a black sheer shirt, but I think that would be really cool and interesting. Then I'm there pilfering around on the internet to find the perfect sheer shirt to wear with this skirt, right? And then, do you want to know what? A light bulb clicked. And I was like, Cassie, you haven't even looked in your own wardrobe to see what you have. Online shopping is so easy and so great for so many reasons, but oh my gosh, how have I gotten to a place where I didn't even look at what I already have? And fair enough, I don't have a satin sheer shirt that worked for it, but I found another shirt that actually I prefer much more for this outfit, and I think it's cooler. There we go. I have put a lot of time and effort in buying all of this stupid stuff, and my gosh, Cassie, look at it. Use it. And yes, there will be things that I do not have, and I will always fall in love. The heart wants what it wants. But in cases like that, like, okay, so you got invited to one thing and now you need to buy a whole new thing for it. Yes, that would be a different case if I was invited to the sodding Grammys or something. Guess what? She's gonna need to buy a whole new look. But for like situations like this, I think that we also feel this way for some, if we're like guests at a wedding, that's always an excuse to buy something new or whatever. When actually, do you wanna know what? Wore this to a wedding last year and you're gonna get it this year too. Just things like that, just reminding ourselves that sometimes we've already got the thing. And as we know, none of this is a necessity. All of this is fun stuff. All of this is just luxury because it is not necessity, okay? This is frivolous, fanciful things that capture our imagination, make us feel a certain way, whatever it is, right? And we know that it's not that serious. But it is also where my heart lives. It's something that will always capture me, even if, you know, areas of it have quote unquote lost its luster or whatever. I just will always love the luxury fashion. I always have done from such a young age. So it will capture me, even if my mindset about shopping it changes slightly over the years. So there we go. Has your mindset on luxury shopping changed recently? Have you noticed any changes in the way that you shop luxury recently? For example, are you somebody that never used to buy vintage and now you're into it, and things like that? Let me know. I'm going to leave a link to another video over here in case you haven't already seen it. Have an amazing morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are. And in the words of my father,
if you've enjoyed it, tell your friends. If you haven't, keep your mouth shut.
I'll see you in my next video. Mwah. Bye, guys.